Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech protected.
I'm Robert McBride, and this is Everyday People, a program in which we investigate the lives of people making a difference in our community. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Robert McBride, Director of the Rockingham Arts and Museum Project, with another episode of Everyday People, talking to people, artists, creatives in our community that are making a difference. And on today's show, we have two good local artists. We have Scott J. Morgan, a painter whose studio is over at 33 Bridge Street, as well as Chris Sherwin, who is a glass blower, whose studio is also at 33 Bridge Street, which is kind of a hub of activity. It's on the bridge after the post office in downtown Bellows Falls, and that's where Wool FM radio station is, and Nick Kekik's glass blowing, and Charlie Hunter, and Judy Lighty, a series of people. So it's an interesting building to walk into. And if it's open during the day, I think they would have an open sign out, and maybe you can meet some of the artists. But on today's show, you get to meet two of them, and they are also in preparation for an open studio tour, which they are still going to host Memorial Day weekend. We'll talk more about that. It's the annual Open Studio statewide craft tour, which this year has been postponed till June. But in Bellows Falls, the artists have decided they still want to host something over Memorial Day weekend, the way it's always been run. So welcome to the program. I'm going to let you both just say hello so we hear your voice, and introduce yourselves a little bit, and maybe just a little briefly, what your elevator speech is on the work that you do and stuff, and then we'll just kind of get into a conversation. So should we go reverse alphabetical? Chris Sherwin.
Hi, I'm Chris, and I've been blowing glass on and off. Well, no, I guess on now for about 27 years, wow. Professionally since 1993. I do hand sculpted and blown glass, a lot of animal sculpture, figurines, memorial pieces, stemware, a whole bunch of stuff, seasonal work. I've been at 33 Bridge Street since 2005, so wow. 16 years, I guess, now. And yeah, it's a great little hub of activity, as Robert said. Now we've got Scott here and another glass blower, soap maker, painter, radio station. It's a lot of fun to be there now. It's a kind of a happening place, and I'm happy just to be a part of what's going on in Bellows Falls.
Great, Chris. And Scott J. Morgan.
Yeah, hi. I'm a painter and an artist. My background was in landscape architecture, and the whole time I did that, I was always painting. And so I've been painting about 40 years. And in the beginning, it was landscape painting, plein air painting, but it morphed into a love of abstract. And so that's my primary focus, is abstract painting, abstract expressionism, and primarily on canvas. But in recent years, my love for music and being a musician sort of rolled over into the art. And I started painting guitars as well, both as functional guitars for players, but also just to hang. I rehab old guitars, but love to paint, and I'd love to show you more of what I do. I also have I'm also in the confines of Chris's studio, so I'm back there with him. I've been in there since 2009, and it's wonderful to have the camaraderie and be in that space, and we have some other great people in the building.
That's great. And I like to kind of ask people on, because I'm so intrigued, because I'm a transplant to Vermont. I mean, I bought my house here in 1980, but how did are you originally from Vermont, or how did you find your way to Vermont? So I'll just go back to you, Scott. Chris.
I'm a Florida boy. I grew up on the beach and was there about 30 years. Went to University of Florida. Moved out to Seattle, spent 20 years there, and that's really where I started painting. and becoming more of a professional musician there. And then I moved here in 2008. So what's that? 11 years ago? 12? No, 13, almost 13 years
13.
ago.
Yeah.
Wow. And moved out here to be an innkeeper and have the romantic life of a Vermont innkeeper, but always had my studio here in town with Chris. And that's my story. I've been here a while and loving Vermont.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. And Chris, what about you and your relationship to Vermont?
Well, I'm a born and raised Vermonter, but I've left and come back a number of times. I was born in Brattleboro. I was there until I was about 9 or 10 and started moving my way north a little. I went to the Westminster Center School and essentially graduated from Bellows Falls, went to middle school and high school, a couple of years up in Essex Junction, but graduated from Bellows Falls. I went to college in Connecticut, down in New Haven, Southern Connecticut State University. And I was first actually introduced to glass there as an elective. And I went to Maryland for a couple of years. I was a residential house counselor, moved home in 1993 to Bellows Falls. And that's when I started at Simon Pierce doing production glass up in Windsor. So I was basically commuting from Bellows Falls to Windsor. So 4 years, and then I met my wife, Cheryl, and we kind of went on a Western adventure. We went out to North Central California, Chico, just north of Sacramento, for about 7.5 years.
Wow.
And that's where I kind of learned the style, the painting with glass. It's a California technique that I worked at a place called Orient and Flume Art Glass, and they were one of the pioneers of that technique in the late 60s and 70s. So I, about 12 years of working with other people, and then we moved home back to the Bellows Falls area in 2004, and it took about a year to set the studio up. But I kind of came back with the intention of showing this style of work. There's nobody else really in New England doing it. It's a West Coast style, and I wanted to share my experiences and my style of glass working. And so that was the impetus of coming back. And so we've been home since 2004.
And do you both find, here we are in southeastern Vermont, which is kind of a, not near Burlington, which people think of as Vermont, and it is the big city. But the southeastern Vermont giving us access to, I think it's a rich, very rich region, and our access to New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Boston, and different things. You feel like the environment of this area of Vermont feeds your work?
Want me to go to me or to?
Sure, you're there, and then we'll hop over to.
I guess I wasn't sure. I was skeptical when I first moved home and set up in Bellows Falls, and my whole goal was to stay as local as possible, but to kind of branch out regionally as much as I needed to be able to retain a living. And I would say that 80% of my galleries are probably still in New England, and I would say we're in a very art supportive, rich area. I think Vermont, New Hampshire, I'm wearing League of New Hampshire Craftsmen t-shirt. They're a huge organization, and I would say between Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, it seems to be an area that appreciates handcrafted work, finely crafted art and fine craft. And I've, you might need to branch out and sell work elsewhere, but I've found it's people appreciate the handcrafted, whatever it is, whatever medium, whether it's carpentry or fine woodworking or pottery or painting or glass, they seem to support that. And, that's very rewarding. I think people do appreciate what we do, which is amazing still to me.
Yeah, great. And Scott, I'm interested in hearing your take, especially since I'm also an abstract painter, and the niche of doing abstract painting. But what is your perspective on continuing to live here, and how it feeds you, and then what you think the interaction is in a slightly larger region too?
Yeah, I've thought about this a lot. It's a kind of a double-edged sword, as most Vermonters will tell you. It's such a beautiful place to live, and the lifestyle is great, and it's very relaxed, and there's no traffic and no crime, and so it's a great place to be an artist. As far as selling work, it's been challenging. especially as you mentioned, selling abstract work. There seems to be a little bit of education that I have to do with people. For instance, this scene behind me, what I really should have is one of my paintings in a barn, because they actually look good in New England houses and barns, but people have an idea that they really need a traditional painting for a traditional home. So that's been interesting. But as you mentioned, where we're located, that's also a bonus too, because I can have a show in Boston in a couple hours. I can be there or less, and I've done shows in Connecticut and in New York and Mass, and it's all pretty close by. So that's really helpful. So we sort of have that larger geographical region that we can sell to. And locally, it's great, because the great thing about not having a lot of resources, not having a lot of people, is that you're not anonymous. Like when I lived in Seattle, there's a million artists, and it's real hard to get your name out there. So here, I think I don't know, for some silly things I've done, I've been in the paper like 3 or 4 times. You just, if you're a kid, you just shoot a deer and you get the front page. But I don't shoot or hunt. But it's pretty easy to
catch that bear. Catch that bear wandering around town. Yeah. There you go, man.
Yeah. I'm sure Chris will agree. Like, everyone knows Chris, and so all I have to do is hang out with Chris, and I meet people. So and that's we all know each other. You drive down the interstate and you see a friend driving down the interstate. It's very small, and it's a nice fishbowl we live in, and so that is a bonus.
Yeah, no, I think I think that's absolutely true. I think and that appeals to me. The scale of Vermont or this region, whether we cross the border into New Hampshire, whatever, is it gives you access to people, and also if you were to go to an exhibition or a concert and you didn't know the artist, it's perfectly comfortable usually to go up and talk to them. You don't have to be introduced, and especially it's really great when an artist that comes from Boston or something, where you say it's a struggle to actually have access to that person. It really is. It's kind of a wonderful thing that allows a lot of community building and stuff, and a lot of access to each other to get feedback on your work. Is that me sort of making noise? There you go.
You're jiggling a little.
Okay, sorry about that. So no, I think the scale of Vermont in all kind of aspects, the relationships we have to our legislators, are this, are that, the civics of the community is really, really pretty amazing and rich. And as we know, it's difficult. It's a lifestyle choice generally to live in Vermont, and then you juggle what you need to juggle to fulfill that lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to how we think about that, and if we think a little bit of that might be changing, and that what did COVID kind of jumpstart about that, kind of turning a little brighter attention onto Vermont. I mean, everyone's probably had a very lovely sentimental view of Vermont, the little thing and the maple syrup and the this and the that. But now, COVID, I think, has made people even really kind of think about living in cities and what they want, or raising their families. And, I think it's going to be changing. And I'm not saying changing for the worse, disturbing anything, but there's a richness of how do we welcome these new immigrants, of people that might be coming here, and integrate their skill sets into it. I'm certainly an immigrant of 40 years ago. And Scott's an immigrant of, 18 years ago or 13 years ago. So I don't know if any of you have any thoughts about that.
Well, you've done a great job of opening the community, like making sure we all know each other, because I think we all know just about every artist in the area. Within 20, 30 square miles, we know a lot of them. And through all the work you've done, we've been able to support each other, and that's been amazing. And the thing we have here at 33 Bridge Street is pretty special too, because most of the artists in Vermont, because you can have a barn and a studio and you have property and it's affordable, a lot of artists are kind of isolated. And so to have this opportunity to be in the same space together with 5 or 6 of us from all different genres of art and music, it's really amazing. I mean, that's something that's pretty common in a bigger city, where you have to be in a space like that. You don't have your own studio at home. But here it's rare, but here it's really needed, because otherwise we're just too isolated.
Yeah.
And the camaraderie we have in our building is just amazing, and to be able to get feedback from each other. even though Chris isn't a painter, he's an artist. So I grab him all the time. Like, what do you think about this color? And he always has an interesting opinion for me. And I kind of go his way quite a few times. So
Yeah.
it's great to have that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was something what I adapted to when I was spending more time, because previous to being here, I was living in Manhattan. And, as you mentioned, in an urban area, it's very common that artists, get studio spaces, share studio spaces. They're often don't even get to their studio space enough because they're trying to earn a living to pay for their studio spaces. But it's a drive to be in that kind of environment. And up here, it was very different to realize, oh, people are used to sort of taking over a little room in their house or their barn. That's not one of their natural drives, but yet they really do want that social interaction and need it. I think it's really important to build it. Now, I know both of you have brought in some work that they've posted, and let's get a chance to look at it. So, Colin, I don't know if the work is, does it matter which whether we speak to Chris or Scott first? And maybe you can run their work behind it. Okay. So Scott, do you want to start? And I think we'll just be showing whatever work you showed behind you as it comes
Yeah.
up. Maybe, I know it's putting you on the spot, but just kind of generally talk about the work and what you submitted to us to take a look at.
Yeah, I think, yeah. This particular piece is interesting. This was a client in Florida that asked me to paint with sea glass colors. So that's what they basically, I said, what's your palette that you're looking for your clients? And they sent me a picture of sea glass. But I usually am not an illustrator. I start to work on the canvas and see where it leads me. I'm sort of see myself more as a sculptor, where I'm kind of working with the piece of wood to see what's in there. Maybe there's a salmon or whatever. And then in this case, I try and find a dialogue in the forms. This is a big piece called Chance Encounter. This is 5 foot by 4 foot. Everyone seems to think I have my work looks like stained glass, but that's really not my intent. But it's sometimes I can see that, especially when you see it on a monitor backlit like that with the light coming through, it does sort of look like stained glass. This is a piece called Sweet Demo. It's 2x4, 24 by 48. This is a mix of acrylic and oil and crayon and everything. This was a piece I did as a demonstration with wine in one hand and a brush in the other. So it's it's kind of crazy and gestural, but in a way, that's really what made it an interesting piece. So yeah, it's fun to talk about my work. And this is a piece I've been using sort of to represent my work now on my website called Soul Bridge. And a friend of mine placed it in a home in a condo. And my company is called Water Music Art. So I love to surf and play music and art. Those are the 3 influences in my life. So that piece in this environment is very special to me. And I do love the ocean. So yeah.
Wow. Fantastic. Thank you. That's really, really great. So let's jump into Chris's work too, because I know we have some time to talk, but I want to make sure we get to see that, and then we can continue in conversation.
Okay. That's a fairly early piece, but it shows you that it looks kind of like painting, but all the flowers, the leaves, the stems, it's all glass. So I use sticks or rods or canes, whatever you want to call them, of solid glass, and I have an oxypropane torch that micro heats the ends of the tip of cane, and I apply each flower petal, leaf, stem one at a time to the piece as I'm working on it. It's solid as I'm working on it, and the blowing out of the vessel, that kind of shows the torch in my hand, and I think I'm laying on a stem right there to a paperweight. It's a very painterly process, kind of meditational. It's a slower way of working with glass as opposed to just a quick, blow and go like I used to do at Simon Pierce. That piece will take close to 2 hours to complete because you are constantly in and out of the furnace. You apply a couple of flower petals, you go back in to make sure the piece stays hot enough. Go back out until your design. It's actually there's 2 sides of it. That shows how molten glass is. That's at 2130 degrees. It just, if I were to stop turning, it would just fall right to the floor. That's an encasement gather. So I've encased the decoration I was doing, and I let the excess drop off into a that of water. And that provides a very thin layer of clear over my design, which protects it, and it adds a little bulk to the piece. I don't know what else. So that's, again, the crocuses, I think, on clear, just to show how the clear glass is very beautiful in and of itself, and my glass has a really nice clarity to it. And those crocuses and the slender leaves are all individually laid on one at a time. The little tiny stamen inside that center petal, each one of those is a single application of glass. So it's I design each cane depending on what I'm going to do, and apply it one stem, leaf, beak, eye. If I'm making, I think I sent some cardinal pictures. I'm not sure. I do a lot of animal sculpture now. But anyway, oh, there's my studio dog, Rosalita. But I guess I sent more studio pictures than work pictures. But come by anytime. My door's open. I'm there 5 or 6 days a week. I will happily show you any part of my process.
Right. And then also there's this opportunity we talked about on Memorial Day weekend this year on Saturday and Sunday from I think 11 to 5. There'll be press coming out about it. Yep. That you, Scott, Nick, and a series of other artists will be having your work available to come in and look at and to talk with at 33 Bridge Street in Bellows Falls and stuff. And I think, that's really becoming an exciting building. It's just, I mean, if you've come from an urban area, it's just like a no-brainer. This building is so cool. Why isn't it just full of a bunch of artists? And over the years, it's really been building some momentum and stuff.
It actually is now. After it wasn't for years. It was, me and maybe Charlie and the radio station, but it's actually full of craftspeople now, almost entirely. It's pretty amazing.
Right. And I'd also like you to just repeat for me both of your websites just clearly, so people can take a look more at your work in depth and know how to reach and contact you. So Chris, since you're right in front of me, do you want to just go first and then Scott?
Sure. Yeah, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and I have a website, and it's all essentially Sherwin Art Glass. So you can search for me at Sherwin Art Glass. My website is sherwinartglass.com. My email is sherwinartglass@comcast.net. And the studio is called Sherwin Art Glass. And like Robert said, 11 to 5, Saturday and Sunday. Memorial Day weekend is a great opportunity to come out. I'll be doing a huge sale studio-wide and demoing throughout the weekend. And Scott will be there as well.
Yep. And Scott?
Yeah, I'll probably set up a canvas and paint as well. And so my website, all my information, there's 2 ways to get to it. It's either through my name, which is Scott J. Morgan. I think it's right there on the screen. And Scott J. Morgan Art. That's the name of my website. Or you can use Water Music Art. And that's how you would find me on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and Pinterest now too.
Yeah.
So Water Music Art or Scott J. Morgan Art.
That's great.
I have a brand new website that's going to come out any minute now. So
nice.
Fantastic. No, that's really good. And and I think if there's I think Bellows Falls actually has really maintained itself coming through COVID. If you come to the downtown, you can park. It's very walkable. So it's easy to take a nice walk over to their studios, walk back downtown. Probably Moondog would be open for lunch, and there's a Subway. There's a new cafe that's open on the corner, Rockingham Roasters. There's a great antique shop. Yep, and they're real in a J&H hardware store, which is all great. It's just a really interesting community to spend an afternoon walking around.
And I imagine we'll have cider donuts and cider too, right, Chris?
Well, I always do. I just was thinking about that with COVID protocols. I usually have a big basket of donuts and cider. I think I can do the cider, but I might have to get individually packed snacks because of COVID. I was just thinking about that. But generally, on any other given year, I have either chips and salsa or cider donuts out, and I'll think about it. But I'll come up with something. But.
Yeah.
Right. Good thinking.
Yeah, for most people, we enjoy the opportunity to start. I don't know what's going on. Start stepping out a little more, but please be mindful to wear your masks and be
Yeah.
respectful of the different situations and use common sense, basically. Just use good common
Yeah,
sense.
and we'll have a station at the studio. I have one at mine that I have masks available. I have gloves, I have sanitizer, and I think we'll put one so that right when you enter, you'll have the opportunity to wipe your hands and put on a mask if you don't have one. But the building does still require a mask in all the common areas, and I ask for it in my studio. I have been vaccinated fully, but I do still ask that you wear your mask.
Yep, that's great,
Please.
great, great,
Thank
great.
you.
Great. And any parting remark from you, Scott?
No, I'll be fully vaccinated by then too. So
Fantastic.
exciting.
Great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks,
Well,
Robert.
no, thank you both. I mean, because it's really all about the artists that make things happen. I mean, you can have a building, but if it's not being used creatively, and we're really, really very lucky in Bellows Falls, and you both have been very working hard over the years in developing more of a group to invite artists in. And there's the Facebook page, Art in Bellows Falls, now, that is not at all exclusive. It's really about, inviting other artists to participate in this. So, please come to Bellows Falls, enjoy it, and get a chance to meet Chris and Scott and see their work. And sounds great. I just wanted to thank the Vermont Arts Council and the National Endowment for the Arts for helping to support RAMP, as well as Chroma Technology, the Wyndham Foundation, and Stewart Property Management from the Exner Block, where they provide affordable housing with Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust, with a preference given to artists. And all the people that donate to RAMP, the individuals. We couldn't make this all happen with you. So come on down on Memorial Day, and if it's another day, take a walk around town anyway and see if 33 Bridge Street is open. And thank you for supporting the arts.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert. And thank you,
Thanks, Robert.
Fact TV. You've done
Yep.
a lot for me individually over the years and for the community. So we're very thankful to Fact TV and to you, Robert.
Great.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, y'all. See you on the square.